Hello everybody, kia ora, and welcome to this video about the full moon in Aries. It's happening in just over a week on the 7th of October if you are in Australia and New Zealand, and overnight on the 6th to the 7th if you're in the UK or Europe, and the day earlier if you are in the USA. My name is Fiona of Sun and Moon Calendar, and I'm going to talk about the astrology of this full moon in Aries. It's when we have the sun and the moon opposite each other in the sky, and we get a fullness or a full expression, a culmination point in the lunar month. So as I may have said, my name is Fiona of Sun and Moon Calendar. I make calendars like this one. This is the Australian edition of the calendar. There's a New Zealand edition as well. And the calendar for 2026 is currently in production, which as in it's being designed. I've written it now and it is being designed. And I'm very excited about that, to be bringing another calendar to the world. I want to say that while I focus usually on astrology for the Southern Hemisphere, it is Northern Hemisphere astrology that I use, but it still works in the Southern Hemisphere. I don't know quite how or why. It's a mystery to me, but mysteries are part of the magic of life, and astrology is a tool that is so useful for helping us understand timing in life and just the ups and downs and the roundabouts and the cycles of life. So it's a wonderful tool. The full moon will be affecting you wherever you are in the world. Okay, currently I am in Edinburgh, just at the end of a long trip going around in a van around Europe, and by the time this full moon happens I'll be at home in New Zealand, Aotearoa. But that moon will be shining in Edinburgh, in the UK, in Europe, over Russia, over Asia, over America, everywhere. Just everyone will see it at a little bit of a different time depending on when your night is. When it's a full moon, the moon rises at sunset and it sets in the morning at sunrise. That's because it is opposite the sun. Okay? We are just out of eclipse season. How did you get on with the eclipses? With the eclipses, we had a lunar eclipse in the sign of Pisces and a solar eclipse 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks before the full moon, in the sign of Virgo. I personally found it emotionally intense. I had some ups and downs. I was kind of extra tired and I got a bit down and I needed to manage that, and I think I had some turnaround points where I will be doing some things differently in life, and it's something I need to work on. Wasn't very easy to explore some of those. They're a little bit too private to share with you, so I won't share them. But if anybody does have anything that they're happy to share about the eclipse, let us know. But this is the first lunation since that eclipse season, and it is a full moon in the sign of Aries. We had eclipses in Aries over the last year and a half, from about halfway through 2023 and then through 2024. So if you are an Aries sun, moon or rising, you really would have been affected with turnarounds and unexpected events with those eclipses. And now the eclipses are in Pisces and Virgo, and this might feel like a little break for Aries because it's a full moon in your sign, but it's not an eclipse. Nevertheless, the full moon always has higher energy, kind of can be higher intensity. The light of the moon can reveal things that we were not aware of, and the full moon can bring like a culmination point, like where something has reached its peak point of development or of energy, some kind of project or some kind of feeling or theme that's been going on in your life. Of course, with astrology there's always cycles within cycles and other cycles, and the lunar month is just one of them, but it is a really important one. It's a strong one. So full moon will always bring some kind of peak point, and it provides us a moment to review and step back and think about how we're getting on with things, especially in whatever part of your chart and your life Aries falls in. And when I do the all signs breakdown, I'm going to talk about the Aries part of your chart and the Libra part of your chart, because Aries is where the moon is and the sun is opposite in the sign of Libra. Okay. So this moon will be accentuating and showcasing, in a way, Aries energy. Let's talk about that. Aries is one of perhaps the most energetic of signs. It's such a go-getter. It's full of initiative and enthusiasm and entrepreneurial spirit, ready to step out into the unknown. Aries can be so bold and exciting and such a leader. So wherever you have Aries in your chart, you have this energy in you. We all have it, but some people will have it stronger than others. You'll have Aries more strongly in your chart if it is your rising sign, or if it's where your sun is placed, if it's where your moon is placed, or if you have any planetary placements there, or if it is your MC, which is your career area, like your 10th house, or your 4th house, which is your home area, or your 7th house, which is your area of one-to-one partnerships. So I'll talk about that in the all signs breakdown, but everybody has the Aries energy. And so we've all got parts of us, or a part of us, or an area of life where we have, you know, just more of an entrepreneurial spirit, a little bit more of a free spirit, and a sense of independence and not wanting to follow the masses and doing things out of gut instincts with fiery passion. And Aries can really be a pioneer leading us to new ground. In Western tropical astrology, of course, Aries is seen as the first sign because it is the sign, it is when the sun is in Aries in the northern hemisphere, that is spring, and it's a sign of those new beginnings, new energy springing into life with determination and conviction. Aries can be just really sure of themselves as they set out on whatever their new pioneering venture is. In the southern hemisphere, of course, Aries takes place in autumn, but people born under Aries as a sun sign, they still have that energy of pioneering and bold new steps and fresh new ways to do things. Okay, Aries has some extra emphasis these days, and I'm going to go into a couple of reasons for that. Currently, at the time of that full moon, the moon will be co-present with Neptune, and Neptune just moved into Aries this year after 165 years or so, because it takes Neptune 165 years to go around the zodiac, and it's just moved into Aries. Okay, so first time in our lifetimes with Neptune and Aries. It is now retrograde, Neptune is, and it's going to go back into Pisces about a week or so after the full moon, and it will be in Pisces for just a few more months, where it's been for the last 14 years. And then in February, Neptune moves back into Aries for 14 years. And it's going to do this amazing conjunction with Saturn. It's like once in every 36 years. But that conjunction is at 0 degrees of Aries. So that being such a symbol of new starts and new energy and new pathways, just that number, 0 to 1 degree of Aries is like the first degree of the zodiac. Even if you're in the southern hemisphere, that still applies. Yeah, that's a really big beginning for the world, that Saturn-Neptune conjunction. So, with the new moon, we're getting a bit of a boost with Aries energy. Neptune and Aries, for those 14 years and currently, apart from the few months that it's going to move back into Pisces between October and the end of the year, and February. Neptune is about mystical things, spirituality, compassion, and unconditional love, and letting go of things and not being attached. It's detachment, and also seeing like everything is one, all are one, unconditional love and connection with everything that exists in the world. And Aries, Neptune can be all about us, we, and the dissolving of boundaries. Whereas Aries is kind of about me, in a good way, like in a way of like that spark of initiative and that spark of the young toddler just stepping into life with confidence and self-belief. Aries is wonderful for self-belief. And Neptune could kind of dissolve that, but then also glamorize, because Neptune can bring this rosy glow and this romance and this glamorizing of things. So Neptune is going to be glamorizing Aries over the next 14 years. And those outer planet transits, they're so slow, they're subtle, and it might not be till the end of 14 years that we really look back and see the difference, but there'll be some kind of letting go of self, letting go of initiative, and at the same time glamorizing that and romanticizing and incorporating some of that as spiritual practice. One of the ways that many astrologers are predicting this will show up is sort of like romanticizing warriorship, even romanticizing war. And I hope that isn't the case, because Aries can be quite a fighter, quite feisty, assertive, and hopefully not aggressive, but that would be a downside side of Aries, is being too aggressive and too self-focused. Okay. So we hope not to see that being glamorized too much. Okay. But if we can see that Neptune and Aries together, those energies together, that could bring spiritual warriorship, where we are fighting and speaking up for and acting for, especially Aries is to act for good causes, for causes that are good for all people in the world, that are help to include everybody in the world, because Neptune is very, very inclusive. So I hope that we're going to see that, and if that is something that you hope for in your life and in the world, then that Neptune and Aries energy is helping it, and will be adding support to that over the next 14 years. Okay. There has been something that has been limiting Aries and Aries energy for all of us, especially for Aries people, over the last 6 years, and that is Chiron. Chiron has been going through Aries since 2019, and next year Chiron moves into Taurus, but Chiron is co-present with this full moon. It's not very close to it, but it's there. But if you have realized or felt a sense of some kind of wound, even a sense of shame or limitation, especially where it's like some old wound that's come from childhood, that's something to do with not belonging in that Aries part of your chart since 2019, that might be because of Chiron's transit through there. And that will be changing bit by bit as Chiron moves into Taurus from next year. Personally, I was made redundant at the end of 2019, and my finances have not bounced back since then. They just haven't been steady, and Aries is my second house, and I think that some of that has been the Chiron moving through that area, my second house of finances and earnings. So I'm looking forward to when Chiron moves on, and maybe I'll just get a bit more of a steady income. So when we have a full moon, the sun is always in the opposite sign, and in this case the opposite sign to Aries is Libra. So, and I talked about that Libra energy at length in my last video, so you might like to look that up, because we are in Libra season with the sun going through, and the full moon in Aries is a balance to that. So Libra is about balance, and it's about seeking harmony with others, working in one-to-one relationships, finding the win-win for everybody, seeking aesthetic beauty and valuing that and creating that. So arts and like refined arts. And it's also about finding justice, and justice being about balance, and finding ways to seek that through diplomacy and negotiation. Libra has to watch out for people pleasing, and so having the full moon come along in the sign of Aries, which in Aries people are not about people pleasing, quite the opposite. Aries will please itself, and we need that in life. We need to be able to define what we want and act towards what we want. And we also need to be able to define and seek to understand what others want, that's the Libra side, and act to support their wants, but always with awareness that where we serve others, we might be losing out ourselves. Where we serve ourselves, we might be taking away from others. So how do we find that balance? So the Aries and Libra axis with this full moon is a really important fundamental dichotomy or opposition to think about: the self versus the other, and how do we meet the needs of both? How do we find the balance? So that is really something to think about with this full moon. So a couple of aspects that are a little bit prominent with the full moon, well, they are aspects that they're just normal life aspects, but when they come around at the time of a lunation, full moon or new moon, they're kind of enhanced with that full moon. So let's talk about that. Just on the day of the full moon, Mercury moves out of Libra and into the sign of Scorpio on the 7th of October, or the 6th of October for most of the world actually. And as soon as it does, it's going to come into square with Pluto. And that might mean that there's a little bit of an energy. So yeah, that becomes exact just after the full moon. Mercury square to Pluto. So a square is an aspect of tension. Mercury is about communication, messages, and thinking, and self-talk. And Pluto is about deep underlying power. It's seen, quite rightly really, as a malefic. Pluto is not easy to deal with. It is about the raw and natural wild power that we all have within us, but when it goes wrong, that can be about jealousy and control and keeping resources, like accumulation, concentration of resources, obsessiveness, over focus. And Mercury might be enhancing some of that in a negative way, because a square tends to be an aspect of tension. However, this could be used, because it gives energy. There's energy, and maybe Mercury is really tends to be out in the open, talking about things, chatting about things, a bit light, and also rational, talking about things in logical ways on the surface. However, Mercury will be in Scorpio, which is a bit more secretive and hidden. I think Mercury in Scorpio, and in general, and this transit of Mercury square to Pluto, while it might not be easy, it is an opportunity to go a bit deep with communication, to explore issues of power and intimacy, obsession, to check in on yourself. Are you getting obsessive about some area of research or some topic or some theme in your life or some person? Anyway, the full moon will be bringing out some of that energy even more, so keep an eye out for that. But just to keep it a little bit lighter, on the day after the full moon, Venus will be sextile to Jupiter, and those are two sweet benefic planets. A sextile is a bit easy, so that's going to help us be sweeter in relationships, feel expansive vibes of goodwill and maybe even luxury, and a bit of optimism and joy and luck. So a bit of a mixture there to go along with that full moon. So now I'm going to break down all signs. I'm not going to talk for long because I'm on dinner tonight and I need to go back to my uncle's place. We're staying with my uncle in Edinburgh. Everyone else is cooked, but not me. I'll be heating up some leftovers because I like when things get used up. So I'll be trying to avoid new food. And so I'm just going to go quickly. I'm going to start from Aries, and I'm going to talk about where Aries lies in your chart, where that full moon is. You only get one full moon in Aries a year, nearly always. And so it's a chance for that part of your chart to be lit up, to have some attention, and to be lit up so that you can appreciate it and think, oh, okay, like since the Aries full moon last year, this has happened, or since the Aries new moon in March this year, this has happened, this has developed. Okay, because that's the kind of timeline. You can look back to the new moon in Aries 6 months ago and think about what has developed there, and you can look back to the new moon in the sign of Virgo, which was 2 weeks before the full moon happens, and just think about what's happened over the 2 weeks. But whatever it is, a full moon is kind of a culmination point and a completion in some ways, and sometimes there is a need to let go. There's an ending with it. Not too much of a big deal because we get full moons every month and endings happen all the time. Anyway, so I'm going to start with Aries. If you are Aries, sun, moon or rising, this full moon is happening in your first house, and it's a culmination point. It's something about you. It's a chance to take a look at yourself even and see where you're at with your life, with how you approach the world, with your identity in the world, even your body and how you look, like actually how people see you in the world. What kind of person do you present to the world? Your first house affects everything in your life, so it really is a good chance for a life review. I had full moon in my first sign of Pisces last month, and that was definitely a moment where I was stepping back and I was thinking about, where am I in life? Do have some goals. Am I at them? Some goals for like me as a person and how I present myself to the world, and especially as your Aries, but because it's your first house, you've got double whammy of this question about how do you act towards what you want and need? How do you express your needs? And that Mercury Pluto might help a bit with that. How do you seek and take action towards what you want in the world? How do you step out? Where are you stepping out? What are you stepping towards? Really good chance to review that with the full moon and the sign of Aries. At the same time, you've got the sun in the opposite sign of Libra, and that is going to be it is lighting up, as I talked about in my last video. It's lighting up your house of relationships, one-to-one relationships, relationships with intimate partners or with work partners or anybody that you're doing anything on a one-to-one basis with. So there might be, leaf fell on my head. There might be something where something comes from your partner or a partnership that helps you review something about yourself. Over the next 14 years, you've got Neptune. It's going to be making you feel a little bit fuzzy about yourself, and maybe there'll be some things to let go, but that's all just part of life. It's just going to slowly move through and you probably won't even notice it. But if you've got confusion about who you are in the world, but you know, Aries, you're used to feeling really definite, but with Neptune going through, maybe you've been feeling less definite, and that might be the case. Neptune will do what it does. It can also bring magical gifts. It's a pretty trickster, that one, Neptune. And you've had Chiron going through your house since 2019 and maybe making you notice an inner wound that you have with your self-belief. That's going to be released from next year when Chiron goes into your second sign, and that'll be a bit easier. But all the best for the full moon. Please like, comment or subscribe if you like the video, and shine in the world, Aries, as you always do. So feisty. I so admire you guys. If you are Taurus, sun, moon or rising, the full moon in the sign of Aries is happening in your 12th house. It's lighting up your 12th house, but the 12th house is actually a house that's a little bit hidden and secret. It's where you hide away from the world. It's your sanctuary or retreat place. It can even be places you go around town or in your community where people don't really know much about it, like even where you visit a hospice, or you're staying in a hospice, or a place of work where not many people really know about it. It can also be addictions, what you do in your spare time to escape from the world, and some of those can be really positive ways of escaping from the world, but it can also mean addictions, like things that are not so good for you, like escaping into work or escaping into Netflix or escaping with substances of some kind or another, whether that's pretty mild like chocolate and coffee or something more serious. And maybe the moon will be lighting up something like that. But because the 12th house is also about things that are hidden away from the world, it can also be about connections with far distant lands or places, like foreign places, again, where you're hidden from the world. It could even be that you're at home looking after kids a lot and just people aren't seeing you. All right, so the moon is going to light up something about that 12th house. On the opposite side of the chart, the sun is going through Libra. I talked about that in my last video. It's going through your house of service, how you give service in the world, your daily work, your daily routines, and there might be something that comes into connection between those two, maybe through your daily routines. You find some old journals, you think about some stuff from your past, and you do some exploring of your unconscious self. That's a 12th house thing, and the moon is lighting that up. That would be one little example. But mostly it's a little bit of a quieter time with this full moon because of it being in your 12th house, Taurus. And the next full moon will be in your house, in your first house. So all the best for that. Please like, comment or subscribe if you like this video. Enjoy being a Taurus person. You guys love beauty and luxury. You're so stable and earthy and grounded, and that is wonderful. So go, Taurus. If you are Gemini, sun, moon or rising, but especially Gemini rising, this full moon in the sign of Aries is happening in your 11th house. And that could mean there's a culmination point, even some kind of gift or reward, and or an ending in so 11th house is a few things. It could be about a friendship or a friendship group. Maybe you realize that you've had enough of a group of friends or some kind of organization of people that you've been associated with, and it's time to let them go. Or maybe you're getting some kind of gift or reward of recognition from that group. It's also about rewards from work, like whether that is in finances, like your income from work, or status, and maybe there's some recognition for something that you've done, or maybe the culmination point of a long-term project or a short-term project if it's just from the new moon, and that reaches a peak moment, and then maybe it's a clean-up time or the finishing off, tying up loose ends. But it might be that the full moon brings the sort of peak point where you deliver the project to the boss or whatever it is. And yeah, rewards from work, like maybe, I don't know, maybe a pay rise could be due with the full moon, or maybe you find that you should have been paid a bit more. That would be more like the size of an eclipse kind of full moon, not so much a normal full moon, but mostly it is some kind of culmination point or completion point. And at the same time, from your 5th house, the sun is shining. And you can learn more about that from listening to my video last week where I talked all about the Libra season and your 5th house. But just quickly now, the sun is shining and lighting up your house of romance and children and playfulness and hobbies and entrepreneurial projects, are things that you do for fun and from the heart. So it's lovely having that season, as you do every year, and there could be some kind of connection between where the sun is now shining its light across to that moon in your 11th house of rewards from work, friendship groups, and long-term goals. That was the other one I didn't talk about. Yeah, so the 11th house can also be about long-term goals that you've got in the long term, 5 years, 10-year goals, and the moon could be lighting up a bit of it could be a time for you to review those, and there might be a change coming for you. Not too big a deal, but you do only get one full moon in this part of your chart per year, so it's a good chance to have a review. Please like, comment or subscribe if you like this video, Gemini, and all the best for the full moon. If you are Cancer, sun, moon or rising, but especially Cancer rising, the full moon is happening in your 10th house. So Cancer, you are quiet, tend to be quieter people and a little bit hidden from the world, and you keep your secrets and you nurture people. But the 10th house is all about how you're out in the world, your career, what legacy you want to leave behind in the world, your reputation and status. And the moon is lighting that up, as it does once a year, in the sign of Aries. Lighting up your career. There could be some culmination point in your career, a peak moment, the high points or the peak point of a project that you've been working on in your career. Maybe it's time to do the presentation to your colleagues or to your boss, or it might be just, you know, reaching the end of some shorter term contract that you've had. At the same time, the sun is shining across from your 4th house, and the 4th house is kind of the energy that you've got, Cancer. You've got this interest in home and family and nurturing, and that is also the energy of the 4th house. And I talked about it more in my video last week, Libra season with the sun in Libra, your 4th house, so you could go and look at that. But something from your home, family of origin, the people you live with, could be shining across to that full moon, and there could be a connection there. Please like, comment or subscribe if you like this video, and all the best for the full moon, Cancer. If you are Leo, sun, moon or rising, but especially Leo rising, the full moon in the sign of Aries is lighting up your 9th house. This is a nice time to feel, I don't know, to count your blessings and things like travel and the explorations you do with your mind, the ways that you like to expand and explore and have adventures in the world, whether those are of the mind or actually going places like traveling. It's seen as a lucky house. So to have a full moon here could be a really nice thing, and there could be some blessing that comes. And it happens only once a year. So that's really cool. Leo, you've got the fiery energy that Aries does. You're a fire sign as well, and so you like that Aries energy and you like exploring and trying out new things, and so that's going to be pretty cool with that full moon in Aries. And there could be some kind of adventure or project to do with travel or learning or even spiritual practice that comes to a peak point or a culmination point with the full moon, and you have a chance to review it. And when I say spiritual practice, that is because the ninth house is also about your belief systems, whether that's religious or the set of beliefs and how you organize them, how you understand them in your mind, your philosophy of life. So that's another way that the ninth house can play out. At the same time, the sun is shining a light from Libra, and I talked about the Libra season in my last video, so you can look at that. That is your third house, house of neighbors and community, small business, siblings, cousins, and other relations. So this could be some connection between that and the full moon. Please like, comment, or subscribe if you like the video, and all the best. Enjoy the full moon, Leo. If you are Virgo, sun, moon, or rising, but especially Virgo rising, well, the full moon is happening in your 8th house. Hang on, just going to check that. Oh yeah, it's in your 8th house. All right. So the 8th house is about other people's money in your life. So that could be your partner's money, investments, even taxes, or large amounts of money, and how they have something to do with you in your life. It can also be about psychology and your underlying mysterious layers of your subconscious, and even areas that trouble you, like to do with power issues within yourself. And the full moon is lighting up this area, which tends to be kind of a secretive area and a hidden area. So something might be, coming out so that there's more awareness of that area, and there could even be a culmination point, like maybe you have some kind of breakthrough with a counseling session, or maybe you realize something about your partner's finances, or about an inheritance or something, some kind of realization, or just more awareness of any of those areas. The 8th house is also occult practices, that can be part of the 8th house, where you're going into some of the mysterious depths of life, and maybe using divination practices to help with that, whether that's through cards or other ways of accessing the mysteries of our subconscious. Yeah. At the same time, the sun is going through your 2nd house, and you can listen to my video last week about the Libra season as the sun goes through that, and also Mercury and Venus. But just to summarize here, that's your 2nd house of your finances and your sense of self-worth, your possessions, your resources. So there could be some kind of connection between that, your personal resources and your personal earnings, and in the bigger amounts of money, like investments and other people's money in your life, or even your psychology, because the 2nd house is also about your sense of self-worth and how that's reflected in your possessions and resources and how you look after them. Okay, so there you go, Virgo. All the best for the full moon. Please like, comment, or subscribe if you like this video. If you are Libra, sun, moon, or rising, but especially Libra rising, especially if you are around those middle degrees of the sign. So the full moon is at 14 degrees of Aries, and so the sun is at 14 degrees of Aries. Well, Aries is your 7th house, so this is about your partner, and the world, the sun and the moon are lighting up your house of partnership, or your significant other, or anybody that you work in a partnership with, like on a one-to-one basis, ideally as equals. We want you to be as equals, of course, coming at it as self-actualized adults and able to speak your mind and everything like that. So Libra, you can have a tendency for people pleasing, of course. I do as well. I'm a Libra sun. And Aries in the house of partnership probably means that you in life will often have partners who can be quite outspoken and direct, and maybe you beat about the bush a little bit more. Anyway, the moon is lighting up the ways that you do partnership, or your partner themselves. All right, so there's maybe something going on in their life where there's some kind of culmination point for them, or a peak moment, or it could be something in your partnership that's lit up and reaching a culmination point at that time. All right, and at the same time the sun is going through your sign, and also Mercury's just gone through, and Venus will be going through. And you can listen to my video last week where I talk more about that, and because that is your sign. And there could be some kind of connection with something that happens for you, or something you're feeling, or ways that you are expressing yourself and setting out to put yourself in the world or take action in the world that is affecting your partner. Okay, so some kind of connection there. Please like, comment, or subscribe if you like this video, and all the best for the full moon, Libra. If you are Scorpio sun, moon, or rising, but especially Scorpio rising, the full moon is taking place in the sign of Aries, which is your 6th house. This is a house where you give service in the world, what you offer the world in practical ways. It's the house of your daily routines for health and organization, so that you can organize daily life well and look after your body with your nutrition and your exercise regime. It's about a lot of the ordinary things of daily life, and I do love the 6th house because it is about how we give service in the world. I think it's, you know, kind of really spiritual, but it tends to be the practical kind of service. All right, so there's some kind of culmination point or a peak moment in that area of your chart with the full moon. At the same time, the sun is shining its light from the 12th house, and you can listen to last week's video about the Libra season with the sun and Mercury and then Venus going through your 12th house and what goes on there. But just to summarize, the 12th house is about the ways that you take sanctuary, or you retreat from the world, that things in your life that are hidden from the world. Not many people see them. It could be like visits to hospices, or it could be things that you do to escape, like, you know, just to unwind, whether that is watching TV or reading a book, or it can be exploring layers of your unconscious as well. The sun is shining a light there at the moment. There could be some kind of connection between that more spiritual, ethereal, and mystical part of your life with the practical 6th house matters of daily life. So maybe a connection there. Please like, comment, or subscribe if you like this video, Scorpio, and all the best for the full moon. If you are Sagittarius sun, moon, or rising, but especially Sagittarius rising, the full moon is happening in your 5th house. Wow, that is a fun house. You are a fiery, adventurous spirit, Sagittarius, and the full moon is happening in a house of fun and hobbies, and I suspect that your hobbies might include going on adventures, so you could do that. The 5th house is also about romance and children, your children, and there might be some kind of culmination point or a peak moment, even a celebration in the lives of one of your children, or in a hobby that you're pursuing, or an entrepreneurial project that you're doing with fiery enthusiasm, because Sagittarius, you're fiery, and Aries is fiery. At the same time, the sun is shining a light from your 11th house, and you can listen to my video from last week about Libra season with Mercury and the sun and Venus going through Libra, lighting up your house of rewards from work, your long-term goals, and your friendship groups or friendship circles and groups of people that you belong to. And there might be some connection between those kind of matters in your life and the 5th house. So maybe, like, you know, something to do with your friendships, helps with your hobby, or with an entrepreneurial project, or with one of your children, something like that. So all the best for that, Sagittarius. Please like, comment, or subscribe if you like this video. If you are Capricorn sun, moon, or rising, but especially Capricorn rising, I am so sorry that last week I called you Sagittarius, but I was talking about you, Capricorn. I felt bad because Capricorn, you know, you guys can just like be so stalwart and steady and not taking showy attention, and I respect you for that. And I'm sorry that I disrespected you by not calling you Capricorn. Capricorn, the full moon in the sign of Aries is happening in your 4th house. This is your house of home and family, and families of origin and the people you live with, or even properties that you own or properties that you have a lot to do with. So this is a kind of private area, usually, often an area of that's a bit more hidden from the world, and it's your own area, your own sanctuary, and an area of nurturing. Aries tends to, with Aries energy that you've got there, it tends to perhaps be a fiery and an area where you can be quite confident and pioneering and bold. Anyway, Aries, you've got a full moon there, and that means there's going to be some kind of culmination point or a peak moment in your home, family of origin, or the people you live with, the home that you live in. And even a celebration moment with the full moon there, because the full moon can be, you know, a good time to have a party. And then at the same time, the sun is lighting up your career area. And you can listen to my video from last week about that, because with Libra season, you've had Mercury and then the sun and also Venus going through your career area, really lighting that up. And there could be some kind of connection between that career area and your home. Maybe something going on in your career makes you understand something about your home. Or maybe there's some promotion or something in your career that means you can get a different house, a bigger house even, or a better house, or need to move because of some kind of career change. So possibly something like that. Or just something that makes you aware of something in your home. Please like, comment, or subscribe if you like this video, Capricorn, and all the best for the full moon in Aries. If you are Aquarius, sun, moon, or rising, but especially Aquarius rising, this full moon in the sign of Aries is happening in your 3rd house. And the 3rd house will be lit up, or there'll be some kind of culmination point or a peak moment in your neighborhood, your community, your travel around your neighborhood or community, your local town. So something to do with your form of transport, like your car or your bike, or where you walk. It can also be about anything to do with your neighbors or community members, or community functions or things that you attend. It's also about chatting and talking, social media, trade and exchange, even small businesses, and especially where you're networking or marketing. So some kind of peak moment there. It's a good time to be, you know, putting something out. If there's something you want to promote or sell, the full moon is lighting up that area, and you've got energy in that area, because, you know, Aries is the ruler, you know, governs your 3rd house. So you've got a lot of entrepreneurial spirit in, and initiative in that 3rd house of neighborhoods. The 3rd house can also be teaching and learning, especially where it's kind of fundamental skills like hand skills, or more basic levels of literacy, numeracy, language, learning in your community, not so much university learning. So maybe there's a culmination point there, a peak moment like the end of a course, and maybe a celebration, shared lunch or something like that. At the same time, the sun is going through your 9th house of foreign travel and exploring with your mind, for your philosophy of life, your systems of belief. And you can look at my video from last week about that Libra season and how that's affecting your 9th house, with the sun and moon and Mercury going through there. And no, sorry, not the sun, no, not the moon. With the sun, and Mercury is just finished, and Venus will be going through it as well. So that's lighting up the area of foreign travel for you, adventure, new horizons, and whether that's new horizons of the mind or the physical new horizons, but you can look at my video for more details. But there could be some kind of connection between that 9th house and your neighborhood, your 3rd house, and your relations, and those ordinary everyday life community connections of the 3rd house. Please like, comment or subscribe if you like this video, and all the best for the full moon, Aquarius. And finally, if you are Pisces, Sun, Moon or Rising, we have the full moon in Aries in our 2nd house, and that is about our finances, our earnings, and our resources and possessions, and even our sense of self-worth. I'm thinking, you know, I'm going to be going back to New Zealand after 6 months away, and I'm going to have to build up my finances again, and I'm going to have to get some of my stuff, at least for now, out of storage and look at them and see what I need. And my clothes that I've had for the last 6 months are pretty raggedy and run down. What am I going to wear to work and everything? That's how I can see this full moon playing out in my area of possessions and resources, where I'm going to need to review that after that time away and take stock and sort things out. It could be any kind of culmination point. It could even be you receive a gift. Sometimes the full moon can bring a blessing like that, of some kind of possession or resource. But it can be this time to look at what you've got, and even an ending, time to let something go, a culmination point in your area of resources. And the 2nd house can also be about a sense of self-worth. So maybe some question like that will come up for us. Am I valuing myself enough? Am I, do my resources, does my clothing and the things that I have, the things I possess, do they reflect the value that I put on myself? Do I look after them properly? These are the kind of review questions we can ask. And at the same time, we've got Libra season with the Sun and previously Mercury and Venus going through the sign of Libra, its own sign, in our 8th house. And you can listen to last week's video where I go into that in more detail about Libra season in the 8th house for Pisces. And so that's about partners' money and resources and other people's money in your life. So that can be like investments, inheritances, large amounts of money, even taxes, and where they're there in your life and part of what you might have access to, but not easy access. It's not like what you can quickly get your hands on, but also psychological layers underlying and occult mysteries. So there could be some kind of connection between that area of the 8th house and your 1st house, and your 2nd house of your resources, your possessions, your earnings, and your sense of self-worth, Pisces. Please like, comment or subscribe if you like this video, and all the best for that full moon in the sign of Aries. There we go, everybody. Thank you for listening. I really appreciate it. I guess I might have one more video to do before I'm back in New Zealand, and maybe I'll carry on with this format of just doing them outside and taking like an hour and a half, and got to get it done and dusted, because I used to spend a whole day on my preparation and all that. Now, you know, that hasn't been possible, and I've gone to this different format. I'd be interested to know what you think of the format. Does it work? Shall I keep doing it like this? And if I've got time to do a longer one, or, you know, more preparation, I don't know. I really do enjoy doing it, so I appreciate you watching. Yeah, I just want to say again how astrology is for everyone, and all around the world we'll be seeing the full moon in Aries. I'm kind of relieved that eclipse season is over, because that was a little bit intense, that last eclipse. And I just love that the moon is there always. It's the same moon that we've had for millions and millions and millions of years, and we all see it everywhere on earth. It's a wonderful thing to connect us all. All the best, everybody. Have a great week.